it is almost embarrassing that we as a company are having to clean up the mess of other brands.
What about 50% for the planet? That would be genuine reciprocity.
And I basically said to him, look, I've got this idea. Do you want to design a bottle? And he said, okay, sure, let's do it.
Hi and welcome. I'm Natalie Fée. I'm the founder of City to Sea, and I'm also the author of How to Save the World for Free and Do Good, Get Paid. And today I'm in conversation with Will Pearson, the co-founder of Ocean Bottle, who are also a partner of City to Seas. Now, Will was a Forbes 30 under 30 in 2019. Will, are you still under 30?
I'm not as of last week, which is
Yay!
a bit gusting.
Wow, okay. So it was your 30th last week.
Yeah, it was.
Well, very happy birthday to you. Did you have a plastic-free party?
Do you know what we did actually? There were a few ocean bottlers involved. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
So really looking forward to talking to you today. We're going to be talking about plastic pollution solutions mostly and partnerships. But first of all, it's definitely business time. Well, I want to talk to you about sort of the ins and outs of setting up Ocean Bottle. But I thought rather than give me your elevator pitch, and for people that don't know about Ocean Bottle, don't think there's many of them out there, because I think you've done a great job at getting the message out. So instead of an elevator pitch, I thought let's make it ocean themed. Let's do a lifeboat pitch. Okay, so the waters are rising. Can't keep all the companies in the world. Why do we need to keep Ocean Bottle?
I love that question. That's so good. So we've tried to set our business up a little bit differently to kind of conventional capitalism, if you like. I think we've tended to look at the world through you've got kind of raw capitalism on the one side, literally basically destroying the planet. And then on the other hand, you've got kind of NGO. And I think what we've tried to do is really create something in the middle. So with every product that we sell, we fund collection of 1,000 plastic bottles and weight. So it's just over 11.4 kilograms of plastic. And we also have a commitment. So we give 15% of our revenue to impact. So it's 15 times 1% for the planet. You know, it's equivalent to well over 50% of our profits at the moment. Yeah, we really believe in that kind of regenerative give back business model. And the great thing is it's still an investable company. So you can attract the same types of funding as a typical company, but it's just that we've got that kind of impact model baked in a bit.
Right. All right. Well, in that case, I think Ocean Bottle is firmly welcomed aboard the lifeboat as we navigate the choppy waters. What were those first steps like? So you obviously, it's you and Nick, and so you met, I think, at business school. But then what did you do? Did you both did you have some money yourself that you invested into the company? Did you get grant funding? Were you on a business program? What was the baby steps?
Yeah, so the first baby step was calling a guy called Marius in Norway. So he's a product designer. And I basically said to him, look, I've got this idea. Do you want to design a bottle? And he said, okay, sure, let's do it. And we were really lucky to work with them because they did it on a kind of royalty model. So they actually invested in the design, and because we didn't have any funding for this. So they invested in the design. So that took about a year and a half to actually do that. I took 3,000 hours of design. It was ridiculous.
Did you and Nick have other jobs at that point?
So I was doing that pretty much full time. Nick was actually working in a kind of venture build VC company. So he was doing that, which was actually turned out to be some great and valuable experience for us. And then he quit that job and went all in from January 2019.
I've been doing a lot of thinking recently about regenerative business, and I'm currently doing a deep dive nature project. I'm sitting under an oak tree every day for a year. And I've been really thinking about what am I learning about this for business? And I'm seeing nature just gives and gives and gives and gives and gives and keeps giving and will keep giving until, if we carry on at current rates, there's nothing left. And I was thinking about 1% for the planet, which is a great model for companies to be able to give back. And at City to Sea, we've got some great 1% partners. But there was part of me that just couldn't stop laughing at 1% for the planet. It's so stingy. It's what about 50% for the planet? That would be genuine reciprocity.
Yeah,
And so when
yeah,
you
yeah.
said 15, I thought you said 50. I was like, yes, well, that's what we're talking about. So from Ocean Bottle's point of view, and quite a radical concept or question, like if you're doing things differently around growth and capitalism and are genuinely a for-profit business, where do you draw the line at growth? And do you and Nick have like well, when we get to this many bottles or this many customers, that for us feels like a healthy amount to maintain, or with investors and shareholders, is that conversation out of the question?
This is such a good question, and I think we've found ourselves kind of coming back to it, over the journey, like quite a few times. And also, your point on 1% for the planet, it is kind of comical that's what good looks like in the current format. I think if we could give 100, we would, but then we wouldn't be able to fund our products, we wouldn't be able to fund our team, our growth, expansion, and so on. So for us, it's been kind of finding the right balance where we can have really big give back element, but still we have like a business that can grow and scale and get to the next stage. And yeah, on your question around growth, what is good growth? I think if we really wanted to go hardcore on kind of capitalism, you could probably argue that we should have no growth whatsoever. And kind of capitalism and almost materialism in its rawest form needs to kind of cease to exist, really. But I think we're in a stage where we would like to just kind of leverage the existing business models that exist today to really deliver some positive outcomes. And I think that is the first stepping stone to then having kind of a world where actually, the value of companies are measured as much by the good that they do for people and planet as the profit that they make. Because the reality right now is that, all companies are still measured by shareholder returns and the profits that they deliver. So if we can get to that first stepping stone, who knows what's next? But it would be a real game changer, I think, for the planet and future generations.
And obviously you're providing such a great model at the moment whereby you're supporting Plastic Bank. I think, are they still your partners that are doing the plastic collection?
Yeah, we actually have a few different plastic collection partners that we work with. So we've now got projects that we support in Indonesia, Philippines, India, Kenya, Brazil. We're also launching in some small island developing states like the Andaman Islands, where really there is no waste management infrastructure. So any plastic that gets used typically will end up in waterways and rivers, and not only pollute their local environment, but also end up in the ocean. I mean, city to sea, right? And the ocean has no borders. So yeah, we're trying to kind of scale up those project partners. We're always looking at new potential partners that we can work with. So for us, it's about kind of catalyzing and driving that plastic collection work and closing the downstream plastic collection gap, as it's called.
And I think that's one of the things that people love about Ocean Bottle, is knowing that when they purchase an Ocean Bottle, they're also playing their part in their sort of preventing plastic pollution at source by reusing, and then they're also playing their part for that downstream sort of collection of plastic that hasn't been properly managed. The waste hasn't been properly managed there. So
yeah, we try to sort of create it as a sort of a positively double-edged sword that can actually fight the problem a bit at both ends. I think we'll come on to probably upstream plastic and a lot of the work that you guys are doing, but there's a lot to be done there, and a lot of that is beyond what we can do directly.
So you were motivated to start Ocean Bottle when you saw the sort of devastation on our environment that was happening from plastic pollution on your travels. So in the last sort of 7 years since you've been dreaming and bringing Ocean Bottle into being, and a lot of blood, sweat and tears, I'm sure, after the dreaming phase. How do you think things have changed from sort of in terms of plastic pollution, and what sort of positive things have you seen?
Well, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of dreaming at the start, and you're then kind of building, in many ways, what becomes a labour of love. But yeah, I think we've seen a lot change, in the last 7 years. I think the first thing that we've seen, and this was also one of the reasons as to why we launched Ocean Bottle, was actually trying to channel the awareness kind of into positive impact. So huge, from the Blue Planet 2 effect. I mean, we're kind of called like a Blue Planet 2 baby, I think. Huge widespread awareness around ocean plastic, people wanting to do something about it, but not necessarily knowing where to start. So that was really, why we wanted to set up Ocean Bottle. But then I think we've seen a lot of progress when it comes to material innovation. Obviously, plasticfree.com, for example, materials resource library for all the product designers out there to design with, plastic-free materials, from banana leaf peel to potato starch. There is a lot of incredible innovation happening. And then finally, I think legislation, can't really happen fast enough, but things are starting to come into effect, whether it's single-use plastics bans and EPR and beyond. So I think we are seeing a lot of positive change. The bad news on the flip side is obviously that the trajectory is still, we're still going in the wrong direction. The rate of plastic flowing into the ocean is actually still accelerating despite all of this. So we really want to kind of drive forward that move to peak plastic basically as quickly as possible, and then really start to help reverse that trend. So yeah, there's a lot of, I think, encouraging progress. I mean, but still we're heading in the wrong direction. I mean, what do you think in the last few years?
Yeah, well, I mean, we've seen some wins, which I think is always good, but certainly for us at City to See, it still feels like we're going like piecemeal. Like, we started with the getting cotton buds banned, and then we sort of moved on to sort of other single items, and then in 2023 the cutlery petition, which was then cutlery, plates and polystyrene takeaway things, so which is great. So we're seeing those bans coming in here in the UK, but actually it's still very slow, isn't it, in terms of the big legislation pieces which could really sort of turn the tide on plastics production, which I guess leads us on to us talking about stopping plastic production, but also plastic pollution at source, which is one of the great things about our partnership, because it feels like a lovely sort of holistic approach to tackling plastic pollution. So you joined us on our walk recently. So we were handing in our open letter and our reuse manifesto to the major political parties in London. So it was great to have you support that. What did you think about we're going to have a dive into the reuse manifesto so people can hear what it is that we're calling for. But what were your sort of thoughts on that?
I think, with the new government coming in, it kind of means opportunity, right, to do things slightly differently. And I think it's the reason why we've wanted to work with you guys is because I think you have a very authentic mission and community in what you do. You've delivered some amazing achievements and results over the years already. And it really does help us push forward, the upstream agenda, which is ultimately, we need to eradicate single-use plastics. It's crazy we're wrapping, lettuce in a material that lasts for 400 years. I mean, why are we doing that? It's madness. So yeah, to be able to kind of work with you guys on that, I think is very exciting, and I hope we can just push forwards more. But yeah, look forward to, and I think that there's an event coming up with you guys, right?
Yeah, we're going to be co-hosting our parliamentary reception, aren't we? In October, where we get a chance to meet some of our new MPs and talk to them about what we're actually really calling for together to turn the tide on plastic. So, Will, should we do a quick sort of one-on-one on City to Sea's Reuse Manifesto? I'd love to get your kind of quick fire thoughts on
let's
calling
do it.
for, why 100%. You think it's important. Okay. So we're going to start off with, so basically this is City to See sort of Reuse Manifesto, what we're asking government to do. So number one, introduce a cap and reduction on UK plastic production.
Got to happen. Can't happen soon enough. I think one thing is I mean, we just need to get a grip on our single-use plastics manufacturing. I mean, there's so many plastics that just aren't needed, and where there are loads of alternatives. So I think bringing that in will actually force that change quicker than not.
Yeah. And I think like the fact that still around 99% of plastics are made from fossil fuels. Like, we want to be keeping those in the ground. And so I think, yeah, very much bringing a cap in as soon as possible, which leads on to point 2, supporting a legally binding global plastics treaty. Now, obviously, this is something I'm sure Ocean Bottle have been supporting. Give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I think, here there's actually real opportunity, I think, for UK to be a leader within this space and push things forward, beyond what the status quo is. So I'd love to see our country take a more active role in that. Obviously, we've got the final stage negotiations coming up at the end of November. So that I think the proof will really be in the pudding there of what is delivered. But yeah, we need it very desperately.
And we just heard, I think last week at the time of us recording, that the US have now agreed to support the cap on plastics production, which comes within the Global Plastics Treaty. So that's something that we'll be talking to the MPs about, because the UK at the last negotiations for the treaty weren't supporting the cap on plastics production. So I think that'll be something that we're talking to them about.
Yeah, I mean that's great, and I mean if you look at projections around plastic production, I mean we're still expecting to double virgin plastic production by 2040, and that is just not in line with the future that we want to live in, and hopefully a lot of other people want to live in. So I think bringing that ban about is an effective way to doing that.
Yeah, and I think you're right. And I think the statistic around that is, like, currently plastic production uses around 8% of global oil use, and that's predicted to rise to around 30% of global oil use by 2050. So we want to really make sure that as the world becomes less dependent on fossil fuels for energy and cars, that it doesn't sort of ramp up production of plastics in the background. So I think this is very key timing, isn't it?
Well, exactly. It needs to be considered as a part of the overall climate crisis, and actually, it is the world's. I think it would be the sixth largest emitter in the world if it was a country, and a lot of oil and gas companies are really looking to plastics as their last hurrah and kind of the final opportunity. So I think the sooner that we can kind of curtail that, the better.
Roll out extended producer responsibility, so EPR. So that's basically where the producer has to pay for the recovery and the processing of their waste packaging. That's been delayed for a number of years. Will, I'm assuming that's a thumbs up from you.
That's to bring it on. I mean,
exactly.
Definitely big support for
that's
us.
just a hurry up, basically.
That's just a hurry up.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it this way, it is almost embarrassing that we as a company are having to clean up the mess of other brands. We're probably we're collecting a huge amount of plastic, and the fact that we're having to do that as a startup from London is, I think, kind of crazy. Yeah. And one of the biggest challenges I think around virgin plastic is just the price, and that means that it just drives rampant growth. So I think factoring in those kind of negative externalities and costs will bring about the change in a really effective way.
Yeah, good point. Because I think there was already a tax on virgin plastics, wasn't there? So maybe that tax needs to go up as well. Maybe that's another thing to put in our manifesto. So legally binding targets for refill and reuse. So this is something that City to Sea have been very active on, and that Ocean Bottle have supported, is calling for all packaging to be refillable, or 30% of packaging to be refillable or reusable by 2030. It's a very lofty target. It's currently 1.2% of packaging is refillable or reusable. But to help that transition towards a circular economy, we have to have more reusable, refillable packaging. So that's one of the things on our Reuse Manifesto. I'm sure that's something that Ocean Bottle would be really supportive for you guys as well.
Unsurprisingly, a massive thumbs up on that one as well. Basic thumbs up across the board. Yeah. I think when we started out, actually, we found a statistic, which is that 70% of people in the UK actually own a reusable bottle, but only 1 in 6 bring it with them on a daily basis. And I think part of that is an infrastructure gap. I mean, you guys have done some amazing work in mapping refill locations, making them more available to the public, but we also just need more refill infrastructure. So we're keen to see the expansion of that big time, and really advocate for that.
Yes. Well, and I think that's probably the key reason why Ocean Bottle are partnering with City to Sea, because I think that's sort of where the sweet spot of where our values align around building the accessibility around reuse. And so more people can refill and reuse when they're out and about.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that we're buying water in 2024 is crazy. And yeah, you're getting it with packaging that you don't want as well. So I think there's a shift underway there, and more people are, bringing bottles with them daily. But I think the easier we can make it for people to get, water that compares with bottled water, if not better, less microplastics,
Yeah.
that's a win.
So still on the Reuse Manifesto, so introduce an all-in deposit return scheme, and then finally completely ban single-use packaging where it's sensible to do so. So like in certain fruit and veg and things like that, where we see in Europe where they don't use the kind of pointless plastic packaging that we seem to be using here in the UK.
Yeah, dine in, all of that stuff. Let's get rid.
Yeah.
But I think as well, an important thing here, and when it comes to talking to government, is really underlining the opportunity for them. We could become a leading exporter of plastic-free solutions. There's a lot of kind of economic and entrepreneurial opportunity in investing in this route. So I think that's a key part for us to lean into.
Great. So I know that we're very much looking forward to that parliamentary reception. If people watching have got other things that they want us to be talking to our MPs about around plastic pollution and solutions, refill and reuse, then obviously leave a comment or send us a message. So coming to the end of our conversation, how's it been going with Ocean Bottle? What are you most proud of in terms of what you've achieved so far?
Yeah, so I mean, it's not often that we kind of actually stop up and think about what we've done. I think you're always looking to the next thing, and I think part of that is because the scale of what we need to do is so big that what we've achieved doesn't quite scratch the surface yet. But I would say that our biggest milestone that I'm most proud of was hitting our billion bottle collection mark back in December. And actually, as of this month, we've now collected 1.5 billion plastic bottles and weights and prevented that from entering the ocean. And, I think the opportunity to really drive that and scale up the work that we're doing in the coastal communities that we're supporting, I think is really exciting. And I think the community seems to be, really excited about that too. So that's probably the thing I'm most proud of. It really is kind of our North Star and what we're here to do.
Yeah, huge congratulations on that. That's
Thank you.
absolutely awesome to hear. And yeah, I think it really takes the whole ecosystem, doesn't it, to reverse this. It takes the brands, it takes the innovative companies like yours, it takes the NGOs like us, it takes the communities on the ground to solve this problem. And I feel like we're definitely taking some steps towards solving it, I think, together through the work that we're all doing.
Well, yeah, I think collaboration is just such a big part of it, and people do often talk about that. Oh, yeah, we have to do partnerships, we have to do collaboration. But when you really think about it, there's amazing organizations out there doing great stuff, and by connecting the dots and actually working, effectively together, we can do so much more than single-handedly. So I'm excited to see us collaborate a lot more. The bottle itself is kind of a blank canvas, actually. So we've always, tried to use it as such and, bring more people along on the mission. Obviously, worked with you guys on the refill.
Yeah, I mean, yours was a blank canvas then because your camera's blurring it, but mine can show you the very sexy and snazzy Ocean Bottle refill collaboration, which we'd absolutely love. And I just carrying this one everywhere. I've put my little carabiner on it so I can clip it on. So if people want to help support City to Sea and particularly our refill campaign, if you buy one of these, you're raising funds for City to Sea, as well as preventing 1,000 pieces of plastic from getting into our oceans.
There you go. You heard it there first.
Now we'll put a link to that below as well.
Yeah, please do. And I'm also really excited to say that, we've got loads more stuff happening going forwards, lots of innovation kind of cooking under the hood.
Great. Well, Will, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I'm delighted that City to Sea have got the chance to work with you. I know that our partnership's going to power all kinds of exciting projects and helping to power our campaigns in the future. So thank you.
Well, no, likewise, it's amazing to be working with you guys. Great team, great mission, and excited about what we can do with the new government and beyond. So it's awesome.
Yes. So see you in October at the Houses of Parliament, and we shall be carrying our Reuse Manifestos under our arm and our ocean bottle in the other hand.
Definitely. Looking forward to that.
Great. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Nat. That's been awesome. Cheers.
Bye.